I found out my fiancé took out $180,000 in secret loans on my name when the sheriff knocked to serve me a foreclosure notice. It was 8:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was in sweats, barefoot, cradling coffee and scrolling Pinterest boards titled Dream Wedding at Home. I had no idea that home was about to become the punchline. The man at the door wore khakis and a polite expression. He handed me an envelope and said, "Ma'am, I'm really sorry to be the one delivering this." At first, I thought it was a prank. Until I opened it. Notice of foreclosure. Property seized due to unpaid mortgage debt. There was my full legal name at the top, my address, a loan amount I'd never seen before, a signature that looked like mine but off, slanted, forced. I dropped the papers. They fluttered to the ground like confetti at a funeral. I couldn't breathe. I called Ethan, my fiancé, 3 rings, voicemail. Then I checked our homeowner file. We kept it in a drawer full of receipts, documents, closing records from when he said he bought us the house in full. Cash offer, no mortgage. That's what he told everyone. That's what I believed. But the folder was gone. Just missing. Panic kicked in. I opened our joint banking app. We had savings, or so I thought. The screen loaded. Balance, $134.89. I felt my knees go out. I sat hard on the floor, still holding my phone, refreshing like it would somehow fix itself. I opened Ethan's personal checking. Access denied. Locked out. I texted him. "Ethan, what is going on? The house is being foreclosed. There's a loan in MY name. Where are you?" No reply. Then I did what I never wanted to do. I called his mom. "Sweetheart," she said too casually, "Ethan's on a flight to Atlanta. Said it was business. Didn't you know?" A flight. He didn't say a word to me about a trip. I hung up and went into panic mode. Pulled my credit report. And that's when I found the real nightmare. There were 5 open accounts under my name. 1 personal loan for $45K. 2 credit cards totaling $22K. A fucking home equity line for $75K. And a $35K loan labeled wedding expenses, preferred bank. I hadn't applied for any of them. And all of them were opened within the past 14 months. Each one had my name, my social, and a signature eerily similar to mine. Some even listed my work email as the point of contact. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Ethan's office. Except when I got there, I found it empty. Like vacated empty. No desks, no computers, just dust outlines on the carpet and a for-lease sign taped inside the window. I banged on the door until my hand hurt. Nothing. I called the building manager. "Sorry," he said, "that company hasn't been here for 2 months. Haven't paid rent since February. We're pursuing legal action." "Company?" I asked, "but Ethan owns it." A long pause. Then, Ethan, that guy was just the business partner. The LLC's under someone named Derek Walters. That name hit like ice water. Derek Walters was Ethan's college roommate, the guy he never talked about except to say, "He's a leech, a scammer, don't ask." And now his name was on the company. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my phone in the parking lot, shattered the screen. I drove straight to the bank that issued the wedding loan. The woman at the desk gave me a stiff smile. "Yes, Ms. Colby, I remember helping you and your fiancé apply. You were wearing that green coat, remember?" "I wasn't," I said flatly. "I've never been here before today." Her smile dropped. She pulled the file. There it was again, my signature, slightly too neat, too smooth. She flipped a page, "But we have photo ID copies." She turned the screen. It was my driver's license. Except the photo was different. A blurry shot, slightly off-center, the kind you'd get if you made a fake at a mall kiosk. I was being framed, and not just by a stranger. By Ethan. I drove home. My hands couldn't stop shaking. I grabbed a shoebox from the closet where Ethan kept all his wedding receipts. It was light, too light. I dumped it. Inside were only 2 things. A fake license with my name, but a different address and an older photo. A post-it note with a single line written in Ethan's blocky handwriting. "Don't open the guest room closet, not yet. I stared at that door across the hall. My heart raced. I got up, walked toward it, opened the closet, and found a fireproof safe. Inside, a stack of loan approval letters, a second phone, and a notarized power of attorney document with my name on it, dated 11 months ago. The signature, mine, but I never signed it. I stared at the power of attorney document like it might catch fire in my hands. Dated 11 months ago. Signed in front of a notary I didn't know. It gave Ethan full legal control over everything: my finances, my property, even decisions about assets jointly acquired or held in common law cohabitation. It made me legally powerless. And I had never, ever signed it. I snapped a photo of it, then another, then the entire safe's contents. The second phone was locked, but when I plugged it into Ethan's laptop, which he stupidly left behind, it auto-synced. Messages, notes, even screenshots he'd saved. That's where the first real crack in his mask shattered. He had a folder named COLBY-GMEPLAN. Inside, PDFs of fake emails he sent from my work account to approve wire transfers. Mock-up documents for wedding loans with adjusted dates. A spreadsheet titled Exit Budget Breakdown. At the bottom of that spreadsheet, in bold, remaining to extract $12,700. He had turned my entire financial life into a harvest strategy. I dropped the phone. How long had this been going on? I called my friend Lindsay, who's a paralegal. She came over immediately. She flipped through the docs, eyes wide. Elle, this is federal-level fraud. He's not just an asshole, he's systematic. This looks planned. She pointed to one entry on the spreadsheet. Why does it say, convert car title June? I blinked, wait, my car. I ran to the garage. Gone. My Toyota Corolla, paid in full, in my name. Gone. I called the DMV, shaking. I need to check the title status on my vehicle. I think it's been illegally transferred. The woman on the line asked for my info. There was a pause. According to our records, the car was transferred out of your name last week to a Derek Walters. I almost screamed. He sold my car, or gave it to his scammer friend, a car I bought before I even met Ethan. Lindsay started snapping photos of everything. She said, we need a forensic accountant, a fraud investigator, and the police. But before we could call, my phone lit up with a message from Ethan. Ethan, you weren't supposed to find that closet yet, but okay, I can explain. Ethan, don't make this worse for both of us. Some of that debt was necessary. Ethan, meet me just once, I'll tell you the truth. Starbucks, 9 p.m. back patio, come alone. Lindsay told me not to go. I went anyway. I wanted answers. He was already there when I arrived. Hoodie up, sunglasses on, sipping some overpriced caramel thing like he hadn't turned my life into a slow-motion car crash. I sat, I didn't say a word. He looked me in the eye and said, I was going to put it back. I laughed, actually laughed. You stole my name, my credit, my car. You forged legal documents, Ethan. You took out 5 loans pretending to be me, and now we're being foreclosed on. And you were just going to what? Return the money like it's a library book. He exhaled. You don't understand. I wasn't stealing. I was investing. Oh my God, I muttered. You're serious. He leaned forward. I didn't want to tell you because I knew you'd say no, but I was building something for us. He pulled out a tablet and tapped it on. Up came a slick website, startup branding, buzzwords, crypto, AI. We're going to flip a new kind of currency, he said. We're pre-seed stage. First round funding was almost locked. I stared at the screen. It was a site builder template. No backend, no investors, just a glossy scam. You torch my life for this. I needed to move fast, he said, and your credit was better than mine. That's all, it's temporary, I was going to fix it. I stood to leave. And that's when he said it. I'm not the only one who signed your name. I froze. What? He slid a paper toward me. I recognized it instantly. It was the second power of attorney, dated just 2 weeks before the house purchase. See that notary, he said. That's your sister's friend, the the one who did your taxes last year. You're saying someone else forged it. I'm saying I didn't act alone, he said. There are others with access to your info. I just did the heavy lifting. I took the paper and left. I didn't go home. I went straight to the notary's office. The woman behind the desk recognized me instantly. Elle Wright from last year. I nodded. Did I sign this here? She blinked. I don't think so. I notarized that document, yes, but it was dropped off. Your fiancé picked it up, said it was urgent. So you never saw me sign it? No, she said slowly, but he showed me your ID, said you were in the car. It was worse than a forgery. It was facilitated. I filed the police report the next morning. Fraud, identity theft, grand larceny. The officer took one look at the files and said, "We need to escalate this." But just as I was finishing the report, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I answered. A woman's voice whispered, "He didn't just do this to you. I was his last fiancé. Check your social security file now." I paused. Who are you? But she had already hung up. I went home, pulled up my SSA account, and there it was. A new name added under my employment history. DERK WLTRS Consulting. 2 years of reported income. Except I'd never worked there. There it was, 2 full years of employment history at a company I'd never heard of, filed under my social security number. DERK WLTRS Consulting. Annual salary, $92,000. Taxpayer ID, real. W-2s filed. All of it perfectly fake. I sat there on the edge of my couch, shaking, as the weight of it hit me. Not only had Ethan taken out loans in my name, he had fabricated a fake career to justify the income that would approve those loans. And it worked. Because the banks, the IRS, even the credit bureaus, they saw a 29-year-old woman making 6 figures, engaged, co-owning property, applying for financial tools that matched her income. Only it wasn't me. It was a whole fictional version of me that he and Derek had built from scratch. And I hadn't noticed. I called the Social Security fraud hotline immediately. The agent on the phone confirmed what I feared. Yes, we see reported employment for 2021 and 2022 under that business. The W-2s were submitted electronically. Can I dispute them? She paused. Not easily. You'll have to file a complete identity theft affidavit and initiate a forensic review. It may take months, possibly a year. I thought I'd cry. Then I remembered the call from the woman, the last fiancé. I went back into Ethan's second phone, dug through deleted texts. And there she was, Rachel H. A flurry of messages from over a year ago. He called her R, Peach, and once, my other half. The final message chain had Ethan saying, "Don't come to the house, it's hers now. We agreed, remember, exit clean." I searched her number on Facebook. Boom, found her. Rachel Hamilton, lives 2 towns over. Engagement photos still up, but no groom in the pictures. Just her in a white dress standing solo in front of what looked like my house. I messaged her. "Rachel, I think we were both engaged to the same man. I need to talk to you." She responded in under 5 minutes. We met at a Panera. She was pale, furious, shaking, and her story. Identical. Ethan, same name, same smile, same crypto startup promises, had proposed to her 2 years ago. Said he was finally building something real and wanted a partner who believed in him. She co-signed on a car. He used her credit to start his business. But when it failed, he ghosted her. Left her with the payments, the debt, and a wrecked score. But the real twist. He used your name, Elle, she said. After we broke up, I started getting mail addressed to you, loan offers, pre-approvals, and when I called one of them to say it was a mistake, they told me I must have misremembered my name. I blinked. Wait, what? He didn't just steal your identity, he used both of us. He cross-wired our data. Mixed socials, created aliases. You and me, we're tied together in 6 bank systems, as if we're the same person. I couldn't breathe. He'd turned us into a hybrid identity. Which meant if either of us defaulted, the other one might get flagged. Which also meant any debt collectors coming after Rachel might come for me too. I tried to get it cleared, she said, but it was too late. I lost my apartment, had to move back in with my parents. Her voice broke. Then she handed me something. A manila envelope. Inside, a printout of an email Ethan had sent to a third party. It was a pitch deck for angel capital acceleration. One slide read, "Target profile, emotionally bonded female with clean history and dual family pressure to perform. Ideal candidate for marital merge investment scheme. And under active status. ELLECOLBY, current phase 3. There were others listed. Rachel H., terminated post-payout conflict. Sarah L., settled via third party. Megan T., pre-phase loss, refused to cosign. Phase 1, pending new identity. This wasn't just a scheme. It was a franchise. I ran. I drove home, heart-hammering, unsure what I'd do next. Call the FBI, the IRS, the press. But when I pulled up to the driveway, there was a U-Haul truck outside my house, and 2 men carrying my furniture out. I jumped from the car. "What the hell are you doing?" The older guy shrugged. "Got a moving order, says this property being cleared for auction." "By who?" He handed me a form. The signature at the bottom. Elle Crew. He used my last name with his, and gave himself permission to clear the house. He'd filed a false marriage document claiming we were common-law married and that I had relinquished interest in all shared property. The same lie he used with Rachel. And they believed it. I ran inside. The safe, gone. Ethan's laptop, gone. My documents, all missing. Except on the kitchen counter was a folded note. 3 words written in Ethan's handwriting. "Try to catch me." I didn't sleep. I sat in an empty living room with no couch, no table, no safe, no answers. Just a legal pad, a dying phone, and a note from a man who had stolen my life like it was a clearance sale flat screen. "Try to catch me." I called the police again. They shrugged. "It's a civil matter until proven otherwise." I called a fraud investigator. They were booked for 6 weeks. I called Rachel. "Do you want to catch him?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. "I want to burn his entire life down." So we got to work. We started cross-referencing everything. Loan dates, account numbers, employment records, DMV filings. We compiled a spreadsheet like we were prepping for war, and then we noticed something strange. Every fraudulent application listed the same IP address. The same digital fingerprint. We flagged it, traced it. And it led to an apartment in Jersey City. Not his name on the lease, obviously, but registered to a Derek Walters LLC. Of course. We didn't go to the cops, not yet. We went in person. Rachel and I knocked on the door of Unit 407 like we were selling Girl Scout cookies filled with rage. It opened. Not Derek. Ethan. Wearing glasses like that would throw us off. "Oh, hey," he said casually, as if we were old friends catching up at brunch. "I was wondering when you'd show up." I stepped forward, fists clenched. "You moved in with Derek." He shrugged. "Technically, I am Derek, legally on paper. He's just a name I used when I needed distance." "You mean when you needed to commit a felony?" Rachel snapped. He had the audacity to smile. "You know, I always admired how resourceful you both are. It's part of why I picked you." "Picked us?" I nearly shouted. He stepped aside and let us in. The apartment was minimalist, all sleek black furniture and IKEA bookshelves trying to look expensive. On the coffee table, 2 burner phones, 3 passports, and a locked steel cash box. "You want to see what's in there?" he asked, gesturing to the box. I didn't move. He opened it anyway. Inside, $9,000 in cash. A thumb drive. 5 marriage licenses, all to me, under variations of my name. And a stack of pre-signed loan applications, forged with my signature. He stared at us. "You two have no idea how deep this goes. You think I'm the whole operation." Rachel lunged before I could stop her, grabbed him by the collar, and slammed him into the wall. "Give us the drive," she said through clenched teeth. "Take it," he wheezed. "You won't like what you find." We left with it. 30 minutes later, we were back at my place. Well, what was left of it, hunched over my laptop, Rachel gripping my shoulder while I loaded the drive. It was a fucking blueprint. A master document. 63 pages of step-by-step fraud operations, labeled by target names, credit scores, income brackets, and what Ethan called their financial vulnerability profile. I was listed as Target C, clean credit, high loyalty score, medium risk aversion. Under exit strategy. Asset reversal via identity switch, 3 months. Rachel was listed as Target A, hers had a note. Terminated early, emotional resistance. That's what he called it when someone started asking questions. The document outlined multiple identities, a pipeline. We weren't his only marks, we were just the best ones. That night, Rachel's old credit alerts pinged. 3 new loans. All tied to a newly created hybrid identity, a mashup of her data and mine. Someone named Elle Hamilton had just opened $35,000 worth of small business funding from an online lender. This wasn't just a fallout. It was still happening. He was still using us. We called the FBI tip line. But we needed speed, not bureaucracy. So we went to the media. We sent the blueprint, the fake marriage licenses, the fraud reports, the video we secretly recorded at his apartment, to a journalist Rachel knew from college. By midnight, the article was live. Romance fraud. 2 women discover they were victims of a $300,000 love scam from the same man. It went viral within hours. People started coming forward, other women, same story. But the biggest shock came from a name I hadn't heard in years. My old landlord. He emailed me with the subject line. Thought you should see this. Attached was a lease agreement for an apartment in Boston. Renter, Elle. Guarantor, Ethan Crew. Except I'd never lived in Boston. Then he sent the payment record. $2,200 month for 22 months. That's nearly $50,000 paid by someone, under my name, for a unit I didn't know existed. I called the building. Sure, the receptionist said. Unit 5B, that was sublet. Rented under Elle, but we only ever saw a guy, tall, light hair, moved out 6 weeks ago. I asked for surveillance. They had a photo. It was Ethan, using my identity to squat in luxury rentals and sublet for profit. He wasn't just borrowing my credit. He was living my life for rent. And just as we were about to submit everything to the DOJ, Rachel got another notification. New auto loan. Under Elle Walters. Approved, financed, active. But that wasn't the scary part. The dealership was in Canada, and the phone number on file had a +1 country code. He was gone. Crossed the border. Ethan was gone. Gone like a ghost with Wi-Fi and a spreadsheet. Gone like he had planned this exit months ago. And all that was left behind was a pile of debt in our names, a media storm that barely scratched the surface, and a trail of fraudulent breadcrumbs stretching from Jersey to Canada. Rachel and I sat in my stripped-bare living room with her laptop open between us, a corkboard behind us pinned with names, dates, printouts, and red thread. Yes, we went full conspiracy board, because nothing else made sense anymore. The Canadian auto loan was the first real breadcrumb since he vanished. A Mercedes, registered to Elle Walters, a hybrid of my name and his old alias. The dealership was in Toronto. We called them. Rachel pretended to be Ellen and claimed she lost her keys. She asked if someone could confirm her registration details. Oh, sure, said the man on the line. It was picked up by your partner. He mentioned you'd meet him later at the condo. Hope you two settle in okay. Condo? She asked, steady. He chuckled. Yeah, real nice place. Said you two were moving from the States and wanted something remote but wired. We hung up and immediately called a Canadian pie Rachel had worked with in the past for a divorce case. Within 48 hours, he had photos. Ethan. In Canada. At a luxury high-rise in Midtown Toronto. Registered under a shell company called Nova Apex Holdings, the same company that showed up in the metadata on our loan documents. the one that issued the fake pay stubs for my ghost employment. We turned everything over to the FBI. They coordinated with the RCMP. But then something happened that I wasn't prepared for. I got served with a lawsuit filed by a fintech company in Luxembourg, where one of the shell accounts Ethan had funneled money through was based. The company claimed I had accepted a $60,000 business line of credit for a coaching firm registered under my name 2 years ago. Their evidence: a video of me signing the contract, matching address and ID, a client list full of fake names. Except it wasn't me. The video, a deep fake. My face, my mannerisms, but not me. The hands were wrong. The voice didn't stutter like mine, but it was good, frighteningly good. They had used AI to simulate me accepting a loan I didn't even know existed. And because I'd actually signed some tax returns while I was with Ethan, documents he had filled out, it was enough to raise legal doubts about what was and wasn't real. My lawyer was horrified. "This isn't just fraud," she said. "This is identity replication. You're looking at a precedent-setting case." I wanted to scream or sleep for 1,000 years. Instead, I called Rachel. She said, "Get dressed, I've got a lead." Turns out, the woman who handled Ethan's shell company paperwork in Luxembourg, she had just been indicted in a separate fraud ring. And she was talking. Through international channels, we learned something new. Ethan wasn't working alone. He was part of a financial grooming collective. Think Tinder swindlers, but with spreadsheets and a hearing funnel. They recruited men, and sometimes women, to develop targets, usually single women with excellent credit and minimal family oversight, and then cycle through them for loans, leases, shell businesses, and startup scams. And every time the mark caught on, they moved the puppet master upstream to the next alias, the next shell, the next location. Ethan. He wasn't even Ethan. His legal name, according to the Luxembourg documents, Joshua Klein, born in Ohio, changed his name 6 times. We were never engaged to Ethan. We were both conned by a man who didn't legally exist anymore. And just when I thought my head couldn't spin any harder, Rachel got an alert. Her credit report had been pulled, again, by a bank in Vancouver. But this time, something was different. The application was denied. Why? Because someone had finally placed a federal identity lock on both of us. A full stop. The investigation had caught up to the scam. We cried. It was pathetic, 2 grown women ugly sobbing on my floor, but it felt like the first wall finally held. For once, the scam stopped with us. And then the email came. From a throwaway address. Subject not over. The body. You can't kill what doesn't exist, J. No attachments, no threats, just that. It chilled me more than any police report, any court hearing, any loan statement. Because it was true. You can't kill what doesn't exist. But you can expose it. So we did. We went back to the journalist, turned over the new files, the deepfake video, the lawsuit, the cross-border rental fraud, the fake pay stubs, the collective. And they ran a follow-up. The man with 6 names. How Ethan Crew stole millions by becoming the women who loved him. It trended globally. Interpol opened an official case. Joshua Klein was now one of the most wanted synthetic identity criminals in North America. We did that, Rachel and I. But it still didn't feel like justice. Not yet. Because the next morning, I opened my email to check on the Luxembourg case. And found a receipt. A purchase. From Nova Apex Holdings. A beachfront property. In my name. The receipt stared back at me like a threat disguised as a dream. Nova Apex Holdings, purchase confirmation. Property, Casa del Oro, Playa del Carmen, MX. Buyer, Elle Colby. Amount, $388,000 USD. Method, wire transfer verified. Status, closed. I hadn't bought anything except frozen dinners and anxiety pills in weeks. And now I apparently owned a beachfront villa in Mexico. I zoomed in on the e-signature. It was mine, or at least looked like mine, in that same uncanny way all of Ethan's Joshua, Derek, forgeries did, But this one wasn't scribbled like he usually did. It was smooth, polished, digitally rendered. The signature of someone who was never real. Rachel was already on the phone with her fraud contact in Toronto when I ran into the living room. She turned, saw my face, and didn't even need to ask. "What now?" I dropped the laptop on the table and spun it toward her. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Is this real?" "It's in my name, Rachel. He's still active, still laundering, still using me." She stared at the screen, mouth tight. "And if it's real estate, he's either planning to hide money in it or hide himself." We Googled the address. It was real. And gorgeous. White stone, 2 levels, palm trees, an infinity pool with a glass wall view of the ocean. A listing site still had the virtual tour up. Rachel clicked. And there, midway through the video, was a blurry shot of a man on the balcony, back turned. It wasn't clear, but the build, the stance, the way his hand curled around the coffee cup. It was him. Rachel froze the frame. "He's there, Elle." We called the FBI. They said Interpol had flagged similar purchases under different aliases. "We've been working with Mexican authorities," the agent told us. "But local enforcement is limited. Many of these properties are legally protected by shell entities. We'd need you to testify in person to initiate seizure." "In Mexico?" I asked, stunned. "You want me to go there?" "Either that," he said, "or he'll walk." I looked at Rachel. She was already nodding. "You're not going alone," she said. "If you go, I go." 4 days later, we landed in Cancun. My hands trembled on the rental car keys. Everything smelled too warm, too sweet, like paradise mocking me. We drove 3 hours down the coast. The further we got, the more unreal it all felt. Like maybe I was chasing a hallucination. A man who wore my name like armor and sold dreams with stolen blood. At the guard gate to the property, Rachel rolled down the window. "We're here for a viewing," she said smoothly, waving a fake real estate agent card we'd printed back in New York. The guard barely looked up. "Go ahead." The villa was exactly as pictured, even more opulent in person, marble floors, massive sliding glass doors. Every surface looked cleaned within an inch of its life. We stepped inside. Silence. No footsteps, no voices, nothing. I took a few cautious steps through the living room and turned toward the kitchen. That's when I saw it. A passport on the counter. Mine. Or rather, a perfect fake of mine. New issue date, new visa stamps, recent entry to Mexico 2 weeks ago. My hands shook as I opened it. It listed me as a dual citizen, of the US and Belize. I didn't even know Belize issued citizenships through investment, but Ethan sure as hell did. "Elle," Rachel called from the hallway, "you need to see this." I followed her voice to the bedroom. There was a wall of photographs taped up behind the headboard. Like a twisted gallery. All of me laughing, me on the street, me at my old job, me walking with my dog, me sleeping, yes, sleeping, and then other women too, ones I didn't recognize, their names scribbled underneath. Rachel. Alyssa. Sonia. Megan. Target G, active phase. Target H, Klein priority. Jesus Christ, I whispered. This isn't just about money, this is obsession. Rachel scanned the room, eyes sharp. He was planning another cycle. You're not just the face of the scam, you're the template. And then we heard the sound. A footstep on tile. We spun. He was standing there. Tan, calm, holding a drink, wearing a linen shirt like he was on a honeymoon he didn't deserve. "Elle," he said, smiling, "took you long enough." Rachel reached for her bag. I stepped forward. "You're under international investigation," I said. "Interpol, FBI, RCMP, everyone wants you." He sipped. "Yeah, but do you know what they don't have?" He reached into a drawer and tossed something onto the bed. "A thumb drive." "The ledger," he said. "Every shell, every bank route, every crypto exchange, every safe house I've used since 2018. And the names, all the other operators. You take this, you burn everything." I stared. "What do you want for it?" He leaned in, smiling like this was his finale. "I want you to walk away, drop the lawsuits, withdraw the reports. Forget this ever happened. You do that, and this," he tapped the drive, "goes to the feds. Otherwise, I make you disappear next. Rachel pulled her phone and hit send. You just confessed, asshole, she said. The mic's been live the whole time. His face dropped. A loud knock sounded at the door. Policia Federal, abre la puerta. We froze. Rachel grinned. Guess your timing's off. Ethan ran. Out the back, down the cliff. We chased, but he was already diving into the ocean, swimming toward a docked boat. His escape plan. Cops shouted, scrambled, fired warning shots. But he was gone again. Vanished, slipped away like a damn shadow. But we had the drive. And that night, back in Cancun, I opened it. There was everything. Every woman. Every bank. Every dollar. And at the very end, a final document labeled Phase Z Final Merge. Inside, a plan to create a new identity. A mix of mine and Rachel. One that would wipe both of us out in the final sweep. He wasn't just stealing from us, he was planning to erase us. We stayed up all night. Rachel and I sat cross-legged on the cold tile floor of our Cancun hotel room, the thumb drive plugged into my laptop like it was a detonator. Because that's what it was, a bomb. And we were reading the wiring. Phase Z, Final Merge wasn't just a plan. It was the endgame. A series of steps to create a new woman, one with a hybrid name, a forged biometric record, and a deepfake personal history pulled from bits of my life and Rachel. The final result. Ellen Rachel Harmon, born 1993, dual citizen, U.S. Belize, 720 credit, history clean. The doc laid it out in clinical, heartless precision. Step 1. Combine SSNs across 3 databases using cross-border loan IDs. Step 2. Apply for offshore medical documents to fabricate illness disability, grounds for tax forgiveness. Step 3. Liquidate Ellen's assets via power of attorney. Step 4. Stage disappearance. Assign death by misadventure. Collect trust disbursement posthumously. There was even a projected date of death. August 7. 5 weeks from now. Rachel closed the laptop like she'd been slapped. He was going to kill us, digitally. No, I whispered. He was going to inherit us. He was going to erase us and live as the woman we never got to be. But not anymore. We handed the drive over to the U.S. consulate the next morning. They scanned it, copied it, and within hours, calls were flying across embassies, agencies, borders. By the time we got back to New York, an international arrest warrant was active. Financial terrorism, cross-border identity theft, deepfake fraud, human trafficking based on coercive financial control. But Ethan Joshua was still missing. Until 10 days later. The email came at 2:36 a.m. Subject: you win. Body: you ruined the game, congrats. I hope you feel powerful. But just know, Elle, if they bury me, they bury pieces of you too. Enjoy your clean slate, I built it for you. J. Attached. A final document. Deactivation notice, Nova Apex Holdings. It was a single command, executed at 2:34 a.m., 2 minutes before the email. The command: delete all. He wiped everything. The shell companies, the crypto wallets, the laundering chains, the safe house rentals, the identity scaffold. Gone. Just like that. One man, a laptop, and one last middle finger to the world. But what he didn't know. We already backed up the drive. The consulate had full digital copies. And with Rachel's help, I wrote the entire story, start to finish, and published it. Love bought on credit. How a man named Ethan tried to turn me into his final investment. It exploded, international coverage, news outlets, podcasts, Netflix sent an email the day after. And suddenly, the woman who was almost erased was everywhere. The lawsuit in Luxembourg was dropped. The Mexican property, seized and returned to the government. Interpol froze the rest of the assets linked to the names on the thumb drive. And the fraud ring, raided, 4 arrests in 3 countries, 2 women rescued. One of them messaged me to say, "He had my passport, you gave me my name back." As for Rachel, she moved in with me. Just for a while, she said. But we both knew the bond between people who have been digitally murdered and resurrected isn't the kind you undo. She's now a fraud investigator. I'm writing a book. And somewhere out there, Ethan or Joshua, or whatever name he's borrowed today, is watching us rebuild the lives he tried to shred for spare parts. But here's what I know now. He can't use my name anymore. Because I've made it louder than his. And if he ever comes back, there's a firewall between us made of every woman he ever underestimated. So to anyone reading this who's ever been lied to, used, or erased by someone who said they just needed a little help, check your credit, check your name, and never sign anything in love that you wouldn't sign in court. Because some people don't just steal your heart. They mortgage your soul. Could you pay off love bought on credit?